Hello, my name is Jacob Woods, and I am from the Deforestation Group. My research project is on Indonesia and the deforestation issue that they've been having for about half a century now. Um, we'll be mainly looking at the oil palm tree farms and the negative effects that they have caused on the country. I want to start off by saying that oil palm trees are used to produce palm oil, which is a product used in about 50% of the items that we purchase in today's society. Indonesia is the #1 provider in the entire world of palm oil, and they produce about 35% of what the world consumes. The demand for palm oil in Indonesia has caused a large amount of deforestation. The image provided here is a forest in West Kalimantan. It shows us in 2013 that everything inside that blue outline has been completely cleared out, and the images before it show us prior deforestations up to 2013 happening. This chart shows us that oil palm farms have been a major contributor to the deforestation in Indonesia. It shows us that since 1989 that the farms have increased by almost 100%, and then 50% of the deforested area in Indonesia has been transformed into oil palm farms. In recent years, Indonesia has become #1 in deforestation area loss. In 2012, they averaged about 850 million hectares of deforestation. They have now bypassed Brazil, who averages about 500 million hectares of forest loss in their country. Most of the deforestation in Indonesia is done illegally. In 2007, a UN program reported that about 50 to 70% of the logging was done illegally. They don't know who exactly is doing it. They think it might be companies, but it could also be the small farmers that live around the area. Large businesses have always been suspect for the deforestation done in Indonesia. I know you can't see the chart here, but I just wanted you to see that one company in the green is considered to practice good environmental practices, 35% in the yellow, and then more than 50% of the oil palm companies are said to practice very poor environmental techniques. Local farmers are also suspects to the large land loss in Indonesia. For about 100 years now, they practice very poor farming techniques. They drain all the nutrients out of the land that they use, and then they burn a forest next to them, use all that land, and then they just continuously redo that process over and over. The government in Indonesia hasn't really done too much to stop deforestation. They say the country's too big and it would be impossible to monitor. Some of the politicians have been bribed by larger companies to ignore illegal logging sites. Also, a majority of the politicians have monetary ties to the palm oil industry. This brings me to my research question. We know what is causing all the deforestation in Indonesia. It's primarily the oil palm farms, but we don't know exactly who is doing it. It could be the corporations, it could be the farmers, and it could come down to the government not really enforcing any of its laws or policies. This brings me to my GLP diagram. I have the government over corporations and smallholders because they're the ones that enforce and set the laws that they're supposed to follow. And if they're not made to follow them, then the corporations can do all the logging that they want, and the smallholders can do all the expanding that they would like. The next step on the GLP diagram shows us that corporations will illegally log to build palm oil for their own monetary gain, and then also that smallholders will burn forests and expand their farming for either monetary gain or just for their own supplementary needs. This brings us to the next step. This one's kind of obvious. Palm oil farms leading to deforestation in Indonesia. To create the farms, you have to clear land and clear forests, and this is the #1 cause of all the deforestation in Indonesia. All the deforestation that comes from the palm oil tree farms then affects the climate of the region and throughout the world. When you cut down a tree, it releases all the CO2 that was stored within it. Also, not only releasing it, we lose some of like the storage banks that were the trees. Then deforestation would affect the climate in the area. It would cause climate change. It would raise the temperature of the area. This could affect life, could affect their farming practices. could cause more fires in the forest, just many negative things. For my dataset research, I picked a random area in the western Kalimantan forest, and I chose 4 years, 1991, 2004, 2009, and 2015, and I classified the images between two colors, red being deforested area and green being forested. I then counted the pixels for each color to come up with these statistics for each year. You can see that between the years of 1991 and 2004, there's not very much loss per year, and in 2004 to 2009, it definitely increases, but then 2009 to 2015, it almost increases 3 times as much. After looking at my research statistics, we can definitely see that there's a major increase in the deforestation rate of Indonesia. We still don't really know the cause of it. We just know that it is happening and it needs to be fixed quickly. If we were to do further research into this, we'd have to study the people and figure out why they do what they do, the culture. Kind of goes into the people and why they do what they do. The climate, see if there's other options of what they could grow. That kind of goes with the economy, figure out if there would be any other ways for them to make money. Lastly, I just want to say that Indonesia has about 100 million hectares of forest left, which sounds like a lot, but in the early 1900s they had 200 million, so 100 million's already gone. And in about 30 years, their forests will actually be depleted unless the government does something quickly to fix the situation.